All right, welcome back to Nerds by Screenlight. This is episode 57 of the ongoing series. My name is Aaron.
I'm Phil.
I'm Vicki.
And I'm Zoe.
And this is the program. So today we're going to be taking on another John Hughes classic, is Uncle Buck. And it is what some people think is John Candy's best. Some people believe this is one of the best movies that
I can see that
he's ever been in. But yeah, it's a classic. What were your preconceived notions coming into this movie?
This is a movie my parents have been trying to get me to watch for a while. They're like, "This is a great movie. You should see it." And it's just like, it's like when you're a teenager and your parents are like, "Oh, it's such a cool movie," and you're like, "Is it though?" Because your mom and dad.
Yeah, I've never seen it, but I caught on very quickly on what was going on in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
See, I grew up watching this, and I actually had it on VHS
Okay.
at one point. I don't have it anymore, but yeah.
I had never seen it before we watched it a couple months ago, but I had always heard about it after I think I'd watched Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and then obviously Home Alone 2 with John Candy in it. I was like, oh well, okay, maybe, whatever. But I never actually sat down and had a chance. And I always avoided it because it looked weird. Oh, Uncle Buck, is he he trying to kill the kids or something? It just looks weird, with that little maniacal grin and the cigarette, or the cigar and all that.
He's a vibe.
He definitely is. He definitely is.
He reminds me of the old school cop
Yeah.
detective guy and
Yeah.
sitting at the burger joint with his fedora and oversized coat.
It's Friday. It's Friday at the burger joint. I'm tired after a long week of investigating.
Yeah.
I got a stogie, and I got my burger, and I got my pint of beer.
And an offensive hat.
Right, and my
I just love when he's like, they're going to be offended by that hat.
It's like, are you offended by the hat? A lot of people get offended by this hat.
So anyway, we're going to be doing Uncle Buck today. So strap in, buckle in, grab a cup of tea, coffee.
If you have teenagers, highly recommend this film.
Yeah.
Yes.
Again, John Hughes continues to remind us of the relationships between people in his movies. That is his kind of his core deal. All right, we'll be right back after this here on Nerds by Screenlight.
Get nerdy with me. Talk nerdy to me. Get nerdy with me. All I really need for you to do is just please.
I can sell.
Talk to me. Talk nerdy to me.
All right, welcome back to Nerds by Screenlight. My name is Aaron.
I am Phil.
I'm Vicki.
And I'm Zoe.
All right, so it is time for Uncle Buck. It's been a month or so since I've watched this, so I'm going to be relying on y'all to get us through the plot from where we are. But we start with Bob and Cindy Russell have moved from Indianapolis with the 3 children. We've got 15-year-old Tia, 8-year-old Miles, and 6-year-old Maisie. They're in the Chicago suburbs, which is where all of John Hughes' movies were really pretty much set. So the relationships between everybody is messed up. Cindy's father suffers a heart attack, and they get a phone call that they have to take care of. And Cindy tries to find her caretaker, and she's forced to turn to Bob's brother, Buck.
Bob and Buck.
Bob and Buck. Yep, an interesting.
Miles and Maisie.
Yep, they've definitely got their alliteration figured out.
Yep.
So
so many families do that. It's kind of hilarious.
yeah,
Agreed.
yeah.
It came up today that there was a family who just had their 3rd kid, and all of them start with J.
Jay.
Love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Well, and then you got the most famous of them all, the Kardashians.
Oh, yeah.
Lord.
That's
Famous
a
for all the wrong reasons. All the wrong reasons. Okay, so what do we start with? How does this movie kick off?
Well, all the children are coming home from school in their own unique ways.
Okay.
So Tia's walking because she's a teenager.
Right.
And Maisie's getting off the bus. And then Miles is being bullied or whatever. So he's sneaking up to the house.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to rely on you guys for this one, the plot wise.
Zoe took
Yeah,
all
I
the
have a lot of
notes.
notes.
Zoe's our note taker for the week. Okay.
I want to point out the bus. It's a short bus.
Yeah.
That they're dropping Maisie off.
Right. So this is the 80s. So the short bus in the 80s and the 90s was a stereotype for people who were sometimes in special education programs and stuff like that. The short bus would pick up those kids and stuff like that. So
It's just special needs, like in general.
special needs,
really.
yeah, special needs in general, because they needed the space or they had whatever. Anyway, so it's interesting that was the choice of the bus to drop her off.
Yeah.
As if it's trying to give you the idea that
I think it said like the national school something, and I'm
Okay.
like, the national? Like, where's she
Wow.
going to school?
apparently a very important place.
Yeah,
Maybe that's the reason for the small bus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not many kids go there.
Yeah.
maybe.
So that, yeah.
Oh, it could be like a private school. I
Yeah,
could see that.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the family is, they're living in Chicago. They're probably a little higher economic wise, stuff like that.
Even though I think they said they moved there because of money. Like, it was
Oh,
cheaper to live there or
probably
something
cheaper.
Yeah.
than Indianapolis.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right.
But Tia's being a teenager because she has to take care of her younger siblings, and they're arguing.
Yeah.
Well, also you find out that like they just moved away from their home.
Yeah.
So they're really
Very
upset.
recently.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably having to get used to new schools, new friends, all the new stuff.
Man, when you're moving when you're a teenager.
Yeah.
That's rough.
And Tia's being really snarky with her mother.
Oh.
Oh, to put it mildly.
Yeah.
Oh, what did she say? She's like, how do you have the time, Mother, to make this Chinese dinner?
I know she could throw little darts at her, poison darts in real life. That's basically what she's
Yeah.
doing. Just like how can I kill you with my words and my eyes?
Honestly, her eyes were scary.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Gotta
she
love
was
it.
just slanging attitude all over the place.
Yeah. What it does help us, so that part of what we're doing here, obviously, with these intro scenes, is we're setting up these kids to be a challenge for Uncle Buck, where he's going to have to really figure out a way to connect to all of them in his own little way, which he does in the end, of course. But it's not easy. It's not like it happens in the first 10 minutes. It takes the whole long movie for these characters to get to like each other.
I love how we're introduced to Maisie too. She's like talking with her mom on how to find another word for a curse word.
She's like a first grader. She's taking everything very literally.
Yeah, and the same thing happens too later with
Miles.
Miles.
Yeah, that's right.
He's like, "Hey, what's another word for this?" And then he walks away, and then he comes up with it himself, and they just look at him like, "This child."
Just avoid the subject.
I will say the little ones are way too smart for their own good.
Yeah, they are. Okay, what do we got next?
Oh, so they get the call at 2:30 or 2 in the morning that her father's had a heart
It's a
attack.
phone call you never. It's
Yeah.
never good if you get a phone call that early in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know something's wrong.
Yeah.
But they're just scurrying because they just moved. So they're like, who's going to watch our kids? Like, we don't really
Right.
know anybody. And then
Right.
the people they ask can't do it.
Yeah.
And he's like, so what about Buck, my brother?
Is there anyone else we can ask before we go to bed? No.
Nope.
Well, they did find somebody, but they couldn't do it.
Oh, and I
So-
think we also skipped over like meeting Buck and his girlfriend Shanice.
Oh yeah,
They are
Yeah.
they are a match for something.
yeah. They're like, she wants him to settle down, get married, have a house.
Have a steady legal job.
Yeah, and have kids.
Reasonable
So,
expectations.
so she gives him a job, and she's like, "You will be there tomorrow, right?" And he's like, "If I could find an excuse to be there, I won't, and I can't. So I will be there, basically."
He's like, he's like, anything I'd come up with, like, you wouldn't believe.
Yeah,
And then he does have an excuse, like a legitimate excuse.
yeah,
Because he promises to be there. Because she gets him a job, doesn't she?
Yeah.
At her, she's the manager of a tire shop, and
Yeah.
he's gonna be the new guy, like technician or whatever.
Yeah. And he's like, I'll be there. And then
He's not, because he's
gets-
gonna go take care of the kids.
It's actually a legit excuse this time.
Oh,
But still.
Bob calls him at like 2 in the morning, and Buck is just like, "Who's this? It's Bob. Who's Bob? Like,
Your brother.
Bobby."
Oh, and then when he claps on the light and like all the lights,
All the lights in the
and
whole,
like,
apartment
yeah,
complex.
come
turn
on, which is scary.
gotta love it. All right. So then he gets on his way.
And he can't remember the names of his niece and
The
nephew to
only
save
one
his
he
life.
remembers is Tia.
Remembers Tia.
But he's saying that she's like 9 and she's like 15.
And like, what are they called? Like Jeffrey and Betsy? He's
Yeah.
all over the
Yeah,
place with
he
it.
has no
He's like,
idea.
"Right.
None.
Yeah.
Good kids.
Yeah. And what it also tells you, obviously, the backstory is that he hasn't seen these kids in a long time.
He hasn't
Yeah.
spoken to them.
Yeah.
He
Hasn't
doesn't
seen
even
the
know their
family.
name.
Hasn't been involved.
Well, now he lives close and they haven't even invited him over to their home.
Yeah. That's not good. That tells you a lot.
That's a sign.
Yeah.
Well, when he shows up, he's
Oh,
first
gosh.
at the wrong house.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then like Bob finally gets him to come over, and then like they have like a short conversation, and Buck mentions something about, oh, sorry for that fire. Now I know not to put it next
to the bushes.
So we can only
He is
assume
grilling next to the bushes,
he
No
started a
common sense.
fire last
Right.
time he was hanging out at Bob's house.
Oh no.
which
And
is
that's-
probably why they haven't invited him back.
Yeah, exactly.
But he literally wakes up the entire neighborhood because he goes to the wrong house.
all the dogs barking.
Yes.
It matches the description.
Zoe and I can relate to that very, very much.
At our old house, one of our old houses, there was, whenever something was going on, there was a bunch of dogs, and it was just like,
Oh my gosh. No. They were neurotic. You'd walk into the room and they would start like barking like, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you.
Oh no.
And I was like, I can't stand them.
yeah.
And it was like during the pandemic when it was all going on. So I'm like trying to study for the praxis and someone's walking down the street.
Yeah.
Except it was more ferocious than that. Like I swear they would have killed everybody if they could have. They were the worst.
It was dumb. It was dumb. So yeah, we feel. So then he finally gets to the right house.
Oh man, and then they're talking about money.
Yeah.
She's like, I'll just leave
The
you some blank checks.
And this conversation went on way too long, but I
Hurt.
understand what they were doing. Like
Yeah.
he's like he doesn't want to accept the money,
Yeah.
but
He needs it.
Yeah.
And so he's like working around. He's like, "Oh, can I cash this
Like a
personal
third
check?"
party
Yeah.
check.
Right.
And eventually he's like, maybe I'll just take a couple of these just in case.
But then she's scared because he's a gambler, so she thinks,
Yeah.
maybe he's gonna blow it on the
Just
track or something.
illegitimate.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So the spoiler is he earns his living by betting on rigged horse races. So like these races are clearly rigged, are obviously rigged. So he's rigging the races, and then he's betting to try and get some money off of it and stuff like that.
And it's implied he only does it once a year.
Yeah, he makes
Yeah.
money for the entire year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's cheating though. Like
Yeah.
that's the that's
yeah.
the problem.
Yeah.
So he does it once a year, and he gets away with it, and then he just goes back again.
In the same conversation, he keeps talking about how he can't get enough cheese. That he's like a little mouse or something. And I'm
Right.
just
I
like,
missed that.
Yeah, that did go on for a couple of minutes.
I was just
didn't
like,
it?
dude.
Why am I thinking of Monterey Jack all of a sudden? Remember that cartoon, Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers with the cheese?
The cheese. Totally.
I told my fifth graders about that. We did It's Raining Tacos, and there's a line about cheese, and I was like, I want you to sing it like this. They showed him Monterey Jack.
He starts playing the Twilight Zone on the piano as
Yeah.
soon as they leave.
And then he's like, oh, the plate's not breakable. Drops like, oh, it's not breakable.
And then he breaks it.
Oh my, okay, so my home I grew up in is full of like really old stuff, and there's some of these old plates, and like Era's been in my house. It's basically like a museum.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff from like hundreds of years old, and I could see that. We have plates like that.
Yeah.
I love it because later on in the movie, like he's on the phone with their mom, and he's like, "Are those plates in there? Are they old? Oh, they are. Where would I find something like that? Oh,
England?
in England." That's one thing they do in this movie a lot.
Yeah.
When he's on the phone, you only hear his side
Right.
of the conversation
Yeah.
because he's on the phone with Shanice.
Shanice.
Yeah, but, and I got it. If you let me just,
I
if you
love
let me
that
just-
part. That is so.
It's like those old-fashioned cartoons.
Yeah.
That reminds me of that.
And you know exactly what's going on the other side of the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
conversation,
Right.
because of what he's
Right.
saying and getting cut off.
But I
saying.
do want to know like how many of his scenes were like improv because there's so many that are just so like
Yeah.
That's a good point.
amazing. But I don't know if they were actually scripted or if he just like came up with that on the spot or like
I think a lot of John Candy, like if John Hughes wrote it, like he kept pretty close to script. But John Candy, he also like him and John Candy were best friends. Like he knew his friend really well and he knew his ability. So when he wrote that, he probably said, "Okay, you're gonna just what you're gonna do. I'm gonna need you to be a one-sided conversation with your girlfriend, and just kind of blah, 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 and that's how it's gonna be." And so, of course, in the hands of John Candy, it's a masterwork, and you're
Yeah.
just like, "Wow, it's incredible." So that's my guess is that's probably how it went down. So okay, what are we at next?
he's making breakfast
Yeah,
and Miles makes a comment of
And
like he's
singing
cooking
the-
our garbage, which I
he's,
thought was
he's
funny.
singing the tootie, tweedledee, yeah, tweedledee do. He's got that song like cranked up all the way,
Mm-hmm.
and then Tia comes down and just turns it off.
Oh man, and then she goes and gets her black coffee that she's trying to act all cool and like older and like she doesn't need him.
Right.
He's like, oh, you like coffee?
And she takes a sip and she's good. Like she doesn't really want it.
Right. She's trying to put on that front.
Yeah.
Trying to make that happen.
Because honestly, they're the only two that really know each other.
Yeah.
Like Miles and Maisie have never met him, and so
Yeah.
they're like,
Oh, they're horrified. They're like, who are
Who are you?
What are you doing in our house? Where's mom and dad?
Right.
And Tia is so unhelpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She is his antagonist for much of this movie, and she really, the thing about John Candy and the beautiful part of him as an actor is he could portray menacing, but he could also portray this hurt, gentle giant that you genuinely cared for.
Oh yeah.
I was going to mention that.
Yeah.
Because in this movie, when he's got his hat on,
Yeah.
he's scary.
Yeah.
But when he's got his hat off,
Yeah.
he's like a big old cuddly teddy bear.
Right. Yeah, and he
He's like a
plays
Chicago gangster a little bit.
Yeah.
With the hat.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
plays those two characters elements really well, and it's a statement on how good John Candy was. Is that you could equal parts be scared of him and be like, well, what's he gonna do next?
I don't
Versus
need to be scared of him if you're a stupid teenage boy.
right,
Yes.
or
Bug.
you're equal parts like
Or
pulling
a
for him.
corrupted principal.
Yeah,
That was an epic scene.
yeah,
It kind of makes me cringe. We'll talk about it when we get there. There's a part of me as a teacher that's like, oh.
yeah. All right, so they introduce the do breakfast.
Miles is like 21 questioning him, like,
Oh, yes.
where's your office? Do you have a car? Do you have a girlfriend? Are you married?
So I do
That
think
was amazing.
So I think that was either scripted or scripted in the moment. I was reading online like that was like they did it in a way that was like it was like a police interview.
Yeah.
Like, and they wanted
like interrogation.
Yeah, an
And I think
interrogation.
it was scripted so that Macaulay Culkin could just spout
Yeah.
off those lines.
He's like, how many questions did you ask me? He's like, 30. And I'm sitting here thinking, and we just looked it up. Macaulay Culkin was 9.
9 years old.
9 years
First
old.
movie.
And, oh,
So let's talk about that for a second. So Macaulay
Legend.
Culkin has had an interesting career. I mean, it started in Uncle Buck, and then he got into Home Alone after this, and he had like the good kid, the good son he was in, My Girl. Like there's been a lot of his young life, and then things kind of went sideways.
the most recent thing I think he's been in actually is a Angry Video Game Nerd episode.
Yeah, so he's bounced back. He's had a similar arc to Robert Downey Jr. in that he did struggle with addiction, he struggled with drug use, he struggled with a lot of issues of substance abuse, the whole 9 yards. And so there were times where you would pull up TMZ or you would see Macaulay Culkin just looking haggard and just
Yeah.
rough.
Yeah, he didn't look great in the Angry Video Game episode.
Yeah, he's been.
But he looked like he was doing better.
Yeah,
That's a good word
he's
for it.
he's on. It feels like he's on the swing up. Hopefully, fingers are crossed. But
I
yeah,
think what's really sad for me is hearing him talk,
yeah,
because I know he's like probably around our ages.
Yeah.
But he sounds like a little he sounds like a child.
yeah.
Oh no.
And so it's just, I know he's had a lot of like trauma and like
Yeah,
even
yeah.
being like a young actor.
Yeah.
But it's interesting
It is, and
because he has kids too and he's married
Yeah.
and
well, we talk about a lot about. We'll take a step into Counselor's lane. We've upgraded it from a corner
It's
into an
a
actual lane in the road. Youth actors, young child actors. There's a reason why there's a stereotype of child actors and the trauma that they experience. Obviously, the series about Nickelodeon's issues.
I couldn't even finish it.
Yeah.
Gosh, what is his name from Drake and Josh?
Oh,
it's
Drake.
awful.
He was the final guest. He was a surprise guest on the final
That
episode.
was like,
Yeah.
that was a lot,
Well,
and
that
I had to stop
It's
watching.
probably your age brackets because there's
Yeah.
only a few of those shows that I actually grew up watching, but you probably grew up watching.
Almost all of them.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that would have been like if they ever do a Disney one, that's gonna be.
Oh, I
rough for
can't.
me.
I can't take the Disney one.
Yeah.
The Nickelodeon one just broke me.
And even outside of that, like with Full House,
Yeah.
the twins, they've
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
they it's like all these children have rough spots.
Yeah. Well, because the part of the thing is like, and it was the 80s, 90s, and even into the 2000s where these film companies and Disney and whoever else, like these big companies, they didn't have protections in place, and they didn't have these kids' best interests in mind.
Right.
You want to talk about a child actress who still struggles to this day, Amanda Bynes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think she's
that
back
is-
under conservatorship or something. She's
I think about Demi Lovato's journey.
yeah. Well, even
Yeah.
Gomez, Selena Gomez, they've all been through their trials and tribulations. They've all been through these rough. And so when we talk about child actors, it's not just like, oh, it's a legitimate thing that I don't think Hollywood has really fully grappled with in a lot of ways. It's 2024, and I'm sure we're still going to hear stories.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, the guy from the Nickelodeon, I mean,
Yeah.
he's still working.
Yeah.
He's still like a director and like all those
Yeah.
things. So, what has changed? I
Right.
guess from all this knowledge.
Not a lot. So when we talk about Macaulay Culkin, you know his face
Yeah.
from the 80s and the 90s, but we also want to be readily acknowledging that the story after that isn't a good one. And like I said, he's on the come up. It feels like, fingers are crossed.
He just got the, what are they called? The
Star on the Hollywood Walk of
Yeah.
Fame.
So
So yeah, that's
good for him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
There's still hope.
Definitely deserves it.
All right, so we got the interrogation scene. Where do we go to next?
He's dropping them off at school, and this is when his car backfires, which is just scary.
Everybody ducks like if there's been a gunshot.
Yeah.
And I just love multiple times in this movie where they're like, "Your car's on fire." He's like, "No, there's just a little bit of oil. Like
Yeah.
I think I
it's
was reading
fine."
trivia that they use like a firecracker or something to get that sound
No
effect.
way.
I think so.
Yeah.
To me, the car is a character in itself.
Yeah.
Yes.
The big antenna that's reaching towards the stars.
Right.
It's iconic. It's like the car from Napoleon Dynamite.
Yes.
Or the car from Blues Brothers, the
Yes.
Bluesmobile. So it is absolutely a character because it is an extension of Uncle Buck. It is a part of him, and
Run
he-
down and terrifying.
he's a
But
part
get
of
you where you need to go.
Yeah, it never stops. It always runs. It never
Yeah,
has an
I
issue getting
mean-
going. It just takes a couple seconds to get it up and go.
But I just love this conversation because Tia goes, "Did you ever have anyone embarrass you like this?" And he like really thinks about it,
Yeah.
and he's like, "No." And she
He's-
gets out of the car, and then he goes, "Do you think she hates me?" And Maisie goes, "With a passion."
I love the part before that when she's trying to like fire back at him. He's like, I could show up in like a robe and pajamas and slippers next time.
and walk you to your first class.
It's like,
Yeah.
he's not scared.
No.
No,
That's where we first see him like use his aura
Yeah.
to affect the scene and the situation.
Yeah.
And make things go his way.
yeah,
But you can tell like the little kids already love him.
Yeah.
Like
they're
all
sweet.
about it.
yeah. They're
Well, he's also standing up to Tia. No one else has stood up to her.
That is true.
Her parents are like terrified of her. They
Right.
were just like, oh gosh, she's gonna like.
and those kids probably have to put up with her.
Oh yeah.
And they're just trying to survive her, terror.
Well, she's like second mom to them.
Right.
Like she tries to treat them like them.
Right. And they don't like it either.
No.
Okay, what do we got next?
Miles is in the lunchroom and he's pulling out all the stuff he brought him for lunch.
God.
I don't even know what half the stuff was. It
Looks
was
like
gross.
onion soup in a bag. Look.
And then he's like, "Anyone want to trade?" And they all scoot out.
And scream. I was like, well, he tried.
He tried
All you can do
so
is try.
hard.
He tried.
And then anyway, he's going back to pick up Tia because they had this whole conversation like, "You better be here at 4:00 when I pick you up."
Right.
And this is when we meet the boyfriend, Bug.
Yeah.
Oh,
not our
scum of
favorite.
the earth.
Bug.
Yeah, not our favorite character.
Nope.
His
No, he's
name is
actually-
very fitting.
He's actually the worst.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think the name's bad enough. Call him Roach.
Call him Roach.
There you
Can't
go.
there's nothing redeemable about this
Yeah.
guy.
And the
Nothing.
problem is that Tia likes him and thinks he's the best thing in the world. So much so that she basically ends Uncle Buck's relationship with his girlfriend later on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
See, I wonder if she really likes him, or if it's just like she's new in town and this is somebody who can, he's interested.
Well, it does come with like a whole group of friends too.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
kind of wonder if it's more of like that kind of, like the teenager kind of romance where it's like,
Yeah, but you also have to realize that Tia probably knows exactly what she's doing. She is not a fool. She's
but
not.
she also doesn't want to go too
Well-
far with him. There's some hesitation there
Yeah.
too.
Well, this first time, yeah.
I'm sorry. I
It's
love
like,
this conversation
the dude asked him, he's like, "Hey, have you ever heard of a tune-up?"
because of
and-
his car.
And he does that stupid laugh, and then Buck, how does Buck respond to it? He's
Ever
like,
hear of a ritual killing?
Take anything from this punk kid.
It's like,
And he's like, "I don't get it."
again, here's Buck like using just his voice to
Yeah.
like.
Well, he's like, "If I ever see you gnawing on her face again, you'll be one."
Yeah.
But his eye, he's got a twinkle in his eyes
Yeah.
he's saying it.
Notice he's wearing the hat in this scene.
Yep.
Yes.
Hat on is Uncle
Gangster.
Buck is scary.
Yep.
Scary Uncle
Oh my
Buck.
gosh! And then he pulls off and almost like rips his arm off with the door.
Well, because he was all like, he wouldn't let go.
No.
I don't know what he was saying, and Puck's not going to take it from this guy. I don't think he should. I was cheering for him the whole
I know.
time.
I was like, good job.
Punk kid.
Oh, but the next time they
I
run
love that one though too.
All right, what's next?
Miles is washing the dishes,
Yeah. Responsible kid.
Yeah.
earning his keep is what he
Oh
said.
my god, he's got his little apron on and his gloves. He's so cute.
And then Maisie's trying to talk Uncle Buck into being able to sleep in the same bed as him because she, she's young and
a
she's
first
scared,
grader.
and
He's
Yeah.
like, no, I drooled. There'll be a swamp in here. Like,
he's trying to come up with like every
Can we
excuse.
put like, what about, you have a brother? Or like a doll. Can we put the clothes on the doll?
you know
That's
him.
not much.
Like,
You don't know me.
That's a good sign, though.
Yeah.
The fact
Yeah.
that she wants that. That's
Yeah.
a really good sign.
So there's a cute little montage of Maisie, Miles, and Uncle Buck like
Yeah.
in
So-
one bed.
the mom calls at this time.
Yes.
Miles goes and gets Uncle Buck, and while he's talking to the mom, Tia is on the other line listening in.
Before Uncle Buck gets on the phone, though, she talks to the mom and is lying about him,
Yeah,
saying
she-
he's drinking and
Yeah, telling lies. Like, so he's drinking, and there was something else.
Do you think the mom buys it?
yes.
I
Yeah.
think she does too.
Yeah, because he does. He's like, he's not been like, they don't like him very much at the beginning as it is. They're where like he's not a great guy. I mean, mom
Well,
is
she seems like she really doesn't like him.
yeah.
And
But
later,
it's sad because it's like they don't know this, but at that point in his life, he's actually like trying to like turn his life around and
Yeah.
like be straight edge and like be
Yeah.
good. And
yeah,
they keep pounding on him so much that he almost goes back to that, but then
Yeah.
he realizes. So
You know, it just goes to show, like when you see anybody making those steps, like encourage them in what you're seeing. You know.
Totally.
Right. So there's this year we've done a lot of work through with a book called Lead Like Lasso. It's not directly tied to the show, but it's using the show Ted Lasso as a foundation to kind of have a conversation about leadership. There's a line from the Ted Lasso series, which listeners, if you haven't ever watched the Ted Lasso series, you absolutely need to watch all. It's like 4 seasons or 3 seasons.
3 seasons.
3 seasons. They're talking about a 4th, but
Oh, okay.
that may or may not actually happen. But it's 3 seasons, and there's a line in the movie that is a very critical scene early on where he says, "Be curious, not judgmental." And the reason why he's saying that is that Rupert, who is the former team owner, and his ex-wife is the owner of the team, and they're in a pub, and he's like, "If I win, this darts game, I get to choose the starters, and I get to be in the box, and I get to basically make your life a living hell." Ha 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 ha. And so then Ted Lasso is like, "I'll take those odds. If I win, you have to stay away." Blah, blah, blah. And so what we don't know, and what Rupert doesn't know until much later in the scene, is Ted Lasso had played darts with his dad from like up until the age of like 16 when his dad died from cancer or something. And the line he says is, "You know what I tell people? Be curious, not judgmental. Because if you'd been curious, you would have asked me, 'Hey, Ted, how good are you at darts?' And I would have told you." And so he tells the story. And then he ends up winning and defeating Rupert and saving the day.
Yes.
In this situation, it's the be curious. Ask, "Hey, how are you doing? Are you doing okay? Are you able to make things work? Are you trying to figure a way out of this mess?" Versus the judgment that he endures from all these characters of like, "No, you're a screw up. You're a drunk. You're a heavy smoker. You're betting on rigged races. You're unreliable. You're blah, 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 blah." Again, it's that be curious, not judgmental. Because if you'd asked the question, "Hey, how are you doing, Buck?" he probably would have told him. Been like, "I'm trying to turn my life around."
He's an honest guy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
willing to apologize for his mistakes.
Totally.
Yeah, he does, and I think he does. He apologizes
Yeah,
to
he
Tia
does.
a couple times, or at least
Yeah.
once or so. Okay, what's next?
On a complete side note, mom's bangs are very distracting to me through this whole film.
You-
Do you guys remember that style?
okay.
That's all. Okay.
I've tried to forget it.
Since we are shaming people.
Well, you didn't have to say it like that.
What's
Just her hair.
what's her name? His girlfriend?
Whose girlfriend?
Oh, Shanice.
Shanice.
Bootleg Reba.
That's mean.
I've been
Reba,
watching-
Reba is a wonderful woman.
I love Reba.
I've been,
Kind of funny.
I would say like knockoff Reba, maybe.
That's better.
yeah.
Yeah.
Timu Reba.
Yeah.
Timu Reba.
Wait.
Timu
What we say?
Shinra.
Discount Paul Rudd.
Discount Reba. Discount Reba.
There we
So
go.
if you're listening, Reba McEntire is the
A legend.
The
a
best.
legend.
Yes.
She is not just a music legend, but a TV legend.
Yes.
Yeah.
She has had multiple long-lasting television shows.
We've been watching.
And she just has a new one that's coming out very soon on, I think it's NBC or whatever, where she's back on the and like they've called her the queen of TV, and she is.
She's amazing.
But
That's so cool.
That
She
is
doesn't
cool.
age, which
yeah,
is weird.
Yeah, she. So if you're out there
But
listening,
not like in a plastic surgery.
No.
No.
yeah, if you're listening, there's on YouTube, if you look up Reba and Kelly Clarkson CMT Takeover or CMT Crossroads, there is an episode. There's a couple songs they sing together. They do Reba's Fancy.
Yes.
And that is an absolute joy to watch. But then they do Walk Away, I think, with but they do a bunch of they do Kelly Clarkson and Reba songs.
Oh, sweet.
It's an absolute joy to watch because those two at that point, this was like I'd say 15, 20 years ago. This is after she had won American Idol.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And they were BFFs at that point. And so that like has extended. But it's a fantastic
That's
just to
awesome.
watch those two just literally chew up the scenery and sing like
yeah.
there's just it's out of control. The second favorite is Pat Benatar and Martina McBride. And they do it's legit. So there you go. There's your off-topic
I love
conversation.
Pat Benatar.
Yeah, and she, oh my gosh.
I love all those girls from the 80s.
Yep.
Cyndi Lauper.
Amazing artists, incredible vocalists.
Yeah.
And talented beyond belief. Okay, so what's next?
We meet Marcy.
Oh, this
Okay.
woman.
I know.
But what an interesting person.
Very interesting person. First of all, she just walks up in their house. Rude.
Yeah.
And Buck is
No, not
fighting
me.
with the dryer.
It's like you better be like best friends.
Yeah. And he's having trouble with the washer machine. He can't get it open.
Yeah.
And it
It's
doesn't sound
honestly a
good.
little inappropriate.
It
like
just-
what
it-
they're alluding to.
Oh, for sure.
They're alluding to physical actions.
Yes.
But like her, okay, neighbor's mind is in the gutter. Like you didn't have to like take
Yeah.
it that way.
Well, and he's even like, "What? You thought I was really?"
He's like, oh no.
Well, so anyway, he comes out and she has the pepper spray, and she's like, "Who are you? And where's Sydney?" And
Right.
he's like, "I'm Uncle Buck. Like, her dad had a heart attack. I'm just watching the kids." And I feel like she kept asking him questions, and she finally believes him, and she's like, "I'm sorry," and then invites him to lunch.
Yeah, she basically instantly asked him out for a date.
Yeah.
Right.
He's like, no, I can't do that.
Yeah.
She shows up a couple times. It's just like a little creepy.
Just twice, I
A
think.
little.
This time and then another time, but I love how like all the scenes after this, he's like microwaving his clothes
Putting
Because
him in
he
the
can't
oven.
open the washer machine.
because he can't.
I
use
like the fan thing when it is spinning around.
yeah.
That makes sense.
I think what all this does is it humanizes Uncle Buck because
Oh,
he's
yeah.
genuinely trying.
He is.
Like he's really trying to do right, even though he probably in his real heart knows that he is not doing well. This is not how he should be
He is
doing this.
resourceful. He is going
Right.
to do the laundry.
Yeah, he's gonna do it even if he's gonna
But he didn't
fail
think about
at
the
it.
laundromat though.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, that was always an option.
We couldn't leave the kids home alone though.
True.
He had to be in the house. He had to steal.
Good.
He had
That
a
was-
job.
Yeah.
That was another lie that she told the mom.
Oh
he
yeah,
left-
that was. She told him that
He
he left the kids alone and that he's been drinking.
Okay.
But that's not true.
Okay.
He takes them literally everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Takes
they-
them bowling.
Yeah, so the next
Which is
scene they're
cool.
going bowling, which I think is cute.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Except the little creeper that's all up on Tia. I was
The
like,
whole
who is
time.
The
this?
freaking toothpick.
Oh, this whole scene, I was just like, ew, ew,
Yeah.
ew,
Yeah.
ew, like ew.
Yeah.
Creeper. She's 15.
Yeah.
and he's like, "So you're a college kid?" And I'm like, "Clearly, she is a high schooler."
Yes.
Good lord.
Yeah, the toothpick, it gave me the ick too.
And then
Like,
it
I
gets
was like-
stuck.
Honestly, that's the most angry I saw Buck the whole movie is when he sees whose it is. Because with Bug, he's a little bit like he's kind of smiling, creepy. With this guy, he's just like, "Get out!"
Like, you know better.
Yeah.
Like,
and he's just like, "Sorry."
Yeah.
when he
Didn't
already
see
has
you
a
there.
black eye, so when he's like threatening him, he definitely gets up and is like,
I mean, clearly, this guy's an idiot.
yes.
Definitely, and a fool and everything else. in
But this
between.
is when he learns about there's a race coming up that he can make a lot of money
Yeah.
on Friday. What?
Who was it? It was Miles who went to bowl the ball, and it went all the way down the lane and just
No, it was
It was
Maisie.
And I love
Maisie.
how he talks to her like, You know, if there was a contest,
Yeah.
I thought it was brilliantly done. I was like,
adorable.
you could teach first grade.
Yeah.
That is how you do it.
It's
Well
like
done.
if there was a
She just kind of
contest
smiles.
to get the ball as close to the pins as possible without knocking them over.
You'd be the champion.
Yeah.
And she just, at first she's just kind of looking at him like, how should I react? And then she just kind of smiles. It's so
Yeah.
cute.
Yeah. He definitely knows how to talk. He definitely is better with small children.
Oh yeah.
He's good with kids.
Yeah, him and Tia do not get along for much of this movie.
Well,
I don't think that's necessarily his fault, though.
Oh yeah, no.
and I think there's so much alike, which you kind of get to later, and that's when they
Yeah.
have their moment.
And in
Yeah.
real life, they got along great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On set, yeah.
Yeah, they were, because the part of the notes were like they were supposed to hate each other, but she was like he was the best of the best.
Oh,
Like he was
yeah.
so cool. All right, so what happens? At what point does she?
Well, he gets approached by the gambler guy
Okay.
at the bowling alley.
Okay.
Just said that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So he gets hinted that there's a race coming up, and
Now it's
I
Miles'
just-
birthday the next day.
the birthday
and the huge pancakes.
Yeah.
oh my god.
Yeah.
And the
I
crazy clown.
kind of love those pancakes.
Right?
Yeah.
I want to
Boy,
do that.
Miles just loses his mind when Uncle Buck says, "Happy birthday! I hope you're hungry."
Oh, they're both like, it's
Yeah.
Christmas morning.
Yeah.
The biggest pancakes ever.
Yeah. And then the clown shows up.
And his mouse car. Like, what is this?
It's like, we have a rat.
Literally.
Basically.
Well, I think he's probably by day he's probably an exterminator, and then he's a clown by day.
That's
by
too
night.
much.
No.
Yeah.
It's a little Dumb and Dumber. You know how like there was the dog car? This is the mouse
Yes.
car.
Yeah. So he shows up and he's like, "Oh," and Uncle Buck is immediately suspicious. He's
Well,
like,
because
"Have you-"
his jokes are already inappropriate.
He's
He
like-
hasn't even gotten in the door
yeah,
yet.
he's like, have you been drinking? Oh,
like,
and-
haven't you ever had some? He goes, no, and I'm going to work with kids.
yeah,
So when the clown is like yelling at Uncle Buck,
yeah,
the stuff he's saying is nonsense. He calls Uncle Buck a liar,
yeah.
and I'm like, what? Like,
What did he lie about?
he's asking you questions. How was he lying?
Right. At what point Uncle Buck punches him.
I love
At
all
least
the
twice.
punching scenes in this
So
movie.
yeah, it was,
that's gonna go on the poster. I love all the punching scenes.
They're
Zoe.
just so epic. Like with the sound effects,
Yeah.
and they come back up, and then he hits them again.
speaking of those
Very
sound
cartoony.
effects.
Yeah.
So like the first time he punches him in the nose, and you hear the clown nose honk.
And then you can see it like scrunched in, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when he comes back, you can tell that the clown nose is broken, and whenever he punches him again, no honk.
You know, it's like those old bags, and some of them are shaped like clowns, where it's like a
Yeah.
inflatable, and
Yeah,
you
yeah.
punch it and it bounces right
Yeah.
back. That's what it was. It's
Totally.
probably based on that.
So the clown goes bye.
He goes
Yeah.
bye bye.
He needed to go.
Oh, I think the next one is the Tia and Bug situation.
You know, that actually may have been the night before. Like, I think it was around the bowling time or something.
No, because so when she goes to the party, and he's at like they're at like a park,
Yeah, they're at a park.
and Uncle Buck shows to pick him up, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, he's here!" Blah blah blah.
He's an hour early, actually.
Well, and I was kind of proud of him for being like casual about it. Because he's like stalking her to find out where she is.
Yeah.
But he's like, oh, I was just in the neighborhood. Wanted to know if you wanted ice cream.
Right.
Like, he was really nice about it, I think.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
being a teenager and like
Yeah.
not wanting to be embarrassed.
I find it very impressive on how he always knows where she's at.
He can
Except
find
for
her
at the-
always.
Except
Yeah.
for at the end, he doesn't. But
He does find her, though.
yeah, but
Yeah.
she wasn't there.
Yeah.
Right.
Where he first went.
But this is my favorite scene with the hatchet and the. He's just telling him what's going to happen.
Bug's starting to get scared. Not scared enough.
Yeah. He's
But
like,
he just starts crying, and I was like,
So
whoa.
before I've watched this movie, I knew of this scene.
yeah.
Because there is a band, I will not name them because they're inappropriate, but they use that line about the hatchet
Oh,
and
okay.
the with the little off the kneecap.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Well, and then
Maimed for
Bug's
life.
like, or no, Tia's like, do you believe him? And, or no, Bug asks, do you believe him? And she's like, no, he's not going to do anything. And then he's like showing the hatchet.
He's like,
come look at it.
Bug seeing his life flash before his eyes.
And he's got the most terrified look on his face.
yeah.
But when Buck goes to pull, like when they go to leave, Tia's kissing him, and he still looks terrified.
Yeah.
Like,
He's a wimp.
Yeah. He's all walk. He's no talk.
Because if he really
Or all-
wanted to
all
be with
talk, no
her,
walk.
like, he would, talk to Uncle Buck and not just be like,
Try to get on the good side.
yeah, totally. Well, and we kind of skipped over it, but he was kind of pressuring her into doing things she didn't really want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to me, that's why I think that Tia is not all that into him.
Yeah, I think
Or at
she's
least
trying to
she's
get
changing.
back at like her parents. Honestly,
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bug is a convenience. He's not actually. There's no weight here.
Yeah.
It's just whatever.
A character like Bug is like, in my opinion, the worst type of character you could have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they make me angry.
Yeah.
Like I don't like characters like him.
They're intentionally built to be the player, to be the sleazeball. You know, you really, and I think it's harder in 2024 to look at those characters because we all know those kinds of guys. In probably in the 80s, it was like that was just their archetype. That was the I don't want to call it a trope because it is a part of humanity that there are guys and there are girls like that who are just players, greasy, slimy, meh. But I think in 2024 is because we, as and in our ages, we're so over that. Like that's just, for the most part, we don't. That's not how we live, and that's not people like that we don't associate with. Like we keep our distance from those kind of folks. I'm like, I don't want to be around.
And
your
we know
orbit.
exactly what they look like, and there's nothing like watching like kids
Yeah.
be around those folks. That just makes makes my hackles go up.
So it's
Straight to jail.
Yeah, it's harder as adults to watch, and you have to, the suspension of disbelief. You have to like try to push yourself back behind that like really angry line that you get to. It's good that we get angry about.
That's
those
why I
kind of-
love Uncle Buck in this because he's
Yeah.
like the things that you know that you shouldn't say and you can't say. He says
does.
it. He's
He
like,
does
I
it.
have a hatchet. I'm like, yeah, you do.
So
And
what,
drill later.
that's we'll get to that. So what happens at some point?
He walks into. This is when he walks into the elementary school and he's like smoking and he's
Right.
like, oh
The
no.
greatest background music. And he tries to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, and it's so tiny.
Let me tell you, I can relate to that. Like, because I've Aaron probably can too. Like when you're at elementary school,
Yeah.
and as a full grown man, you got to use the bathroom.
Yeah.
You better find a faculty bathroom.
Right. Yeah.
Them things are on the floor.
Yeah.
Like,
Literally.
It's a small.
Which is, it's not really an issue.
Yeah.
For
I mean,
us.
it's just maybe lower, but it.
Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's next? At what point does she get Shanice involved and
Oh, we
trick her?
got to
into-
talk about the principal, though.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Let's.
It's a while. Okay. This is only an hour and a half movie, but a lot happens.
Yes.
Yes.
Like a lot. So yeah.
I love how he tells the kid he's sitting beside. He's like, "I'll go next to give you more time to relax."
No.
Which I think, honestly, after him chewing the principal out like that, that kid going in after him is probably going to get it worse.
Right.
She's
I don't know, because she was like, whoa, he did not just like stand up to me like that. I'm kind of surprised. But she's going off on about a 6-year-old,
Right.
like saying that she
And saying
has-
things you should never say about a
yeah,
kid.
like she's a dreamer and a silly heart and all this. And he's like, she's literally 6 years old.
She's a
like,
first grader.
What do you want her to be doing?
Right.
I mean, I get the whole, like, okay, not if they're not doing their work. Or
Yeah.
if they're talking the whole time. There's
Yeah.
a way of saying that. But I'm going to play a devil's advocate, though. Because I'm with Buck. He was right to stand up to her. But I think there's a lot of this going on these days. There's a lot of phone calls of parents standing up to principals over things that are very small.
That's fair.
And it's very stressful to be on the other end as a teacher being like, if I mess up, am I going to get a phone call about this? And it
Yeah.
could be over the smallest things. Sometimes it's
true.
like legit and you're like, I need to change it. But like in elementary, it happens a lot.
For sure.
So those are my thoughts.
But I would also say, how does she have this opinion of her when they just moved there?
Yeah.
Like, how is her opinion so strong, like,
Yeah.
that she doesn't like her?
Yeah.
Well, and it's that idea of, again, that's be curious, not judgmental. Like,
Yeah.
why are you so creative? Let's feed into that.
Because she's basically like, your kid's not gonna be successful
Right.
at 6. I'm
At
telling
6
you
years
that.
old, that's
Yeah.
rough.
I love
Yeah.
how during his rant, he's like, I would be worried if she wasn't a dreamer,
Yeah.
if she wasn't, all these things, and
Yeah.
then he's like, I would be worried if she was involved in her student career, like he's just trying to like rebuke everything she said, and
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah, it's a good scene.
So now we're kind of at this point. Uncle Buck has called Shanice and left a voicemail, a very sweet voicemail.
Yeah.
And Shanice is calling him back,
Yeah.
and Tia answers the phone. Go.
Okay, so Tia basically sells him out.
Yes.
I don't remember the exact details.
She lies.
Yeah.
Oh,
She
straight
says
up.
that he's out with Marcy,
Yeah.
which isn't even true. He's at home.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good lie, though. She must know things about this neighbor.
Right. Because the next day, Marcy comes over and is like really flirting with him, and then
Yeah.
Shanice comes
So
in.
over
They're
the
like
top.
dancing and
Oh, which is just so cringy.
Yeah.
Right.
It is so bad.
Right.
well, when it's Buck by himself dancing, it's funny.
Yeah.
But they make like a comment about like, oh, you're dancing like from like Dirty Dancing, like the movie. And I'm
She's
just like,
trying to.
First
Zoe-
audible gag on the
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah. That's,
That's worthy of
Zoe
audible
did not
gag.
enjoy this scene at all.
It's very cringeworthy. It's like, first of all, inappropriate. Second of all, you're not even doing it right.
Right.
And he said no. Like, how many times can we listen to his boundaries?
Right. Can
He
we-
doesn't
yeah.
want to do.
Yeah. Can we? Yeah. He doesn't consent to whatever is happening. Can we stop abusing this man and taking?
I will say for Tia, it looked like on her face after she said that to Shanice that she felt
She
guilty.
instantly knew she
Like she messed up.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then Shanice obviously comes in the next day, sees him dancing, and breaks up with Buck.
Yeah.
Breaks his heart pretty well, and then I don't know what happens next.
Well,
He officially rejects neighbor lady.
yeah, and she says, "Fine, I'll just go wait for Federal Express."
She has.
Which I was
issues.
like, oh,
I
you're
don't.
like
I
that.
don't want to know anything else about your life. Oh, jeez.
I have something written down here that says you have it made, Buck. No one says that anymore, and I don't know what that's from.
You have it made, Buck. He said that to himself.
So
Oh yeah, that's the moment he's like spiraling,
Yeah.
and he is starting to drink, and like,
Yeah.
well, he's been smoking the whole time.
Right.
True.
But he's really like feeling bad about himself. Like, well, if they're gonna think I'm this horrible guy, I'm just gonna be it.
Yeah.
That's kind of the vibe I got.
Yeah.
Which he doesn't do. He says it, but he's.
Yeah, well, and they used to tell him like he had it made because he didn't have a job, he didn't have to go into the office,
Right.
like he didn't have the wife and the kids and like all the
Right.
commitments and.
Well, when we talk about you talk about growing up, right? So when you're young, having that free lifestyle and doing whatever you want to do, yeah, it is the life.
Like in
yeah,
your 20s.
you want to be able, you want to drive, you travel. You know, you have that jet setting lifestyle. You know, you only have to do work so often. Like it's great. But part of I think the dynamic is that Buck's older, and we all grow up. We all have to stop being that wanderer. We have to start being that career-minded person. You want to be successful in life. You want to be able to have a successful career and like be able to do adult things and do you have to settle down. You have to find the place to stay. And I think Buck is having that kind of
Yeah, well, he's about the age where you and I had a very similar journey to this, and probably you guys too. Like when you hit your 30s, and you're like, all right, it's kind of the time where you're like,
Yeah.
all right, I have to get serious.
yeah. So he's that moment. What happens next?
He goes to pick up Tia, but she is not there because she sneaks out with Bug for the
Yep.
weekend.
To a party.
And she was supposed to watch the kids so he could go to the race that
Right.
day.
Yep.
And this is where we have that moment where he has them in the car and he's basically
He
just like, I
almost
can't do
takes
it.
him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah, I'm proud of him.
Yeah.
But then he calls Shanice.
Who? Oh, he
Wait,
says.
why is that bad? I thought that was a good thing.
I know, but I'm like, okay, you guys just fought over this whole thing.
Yeah.
And now you're having to ask her for help to come watch the kids.
I think it just
and-
shows that honestly he doesn't have friends that he can trust.
I mean, yeah,
And
that's
this is
true.
probably the only person that he feels like,
Well, because
hey, this is all I got.
he was going down the road with the kid. He's mad at Tia, and he said something like, "Dang these kids" or something. And he realizes that Miles and Maisie heard him, and he stops the car and he looks back at him, and that's when he like has the realization like, I shouldn't do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, when he says these kids, he doesn't mean these kids. He
Right.
means
Right.
that one kid,
Right.
Tia.
Who's, yeah, just gone. Well, because he's like, fine, she's an adult, she can do her own thing, like, whatever. But then he's like, no, I need to go find her.
Yep.
Basically.
So he gets Shanice comes and takes care, watches the kids. He gets in his car and is in search of Tia.
Yep.
Oh.
Which I would even say, like, I already didn't like Bug, but at least I knew he was, like, just dumb.
Right.
Yeah.
But, like, this scene with this other girl,
Yeah.
like, that pushes it, like, a little too far.
Oh, yeah, this
I
is
feel
criminal.
like-
At this point, it's criminal.
Yeah.
Right. So
Straight
Uncle
to jail.
Uncle Buck finds the party, and he's going through.
I love he's walking around. Anybody know Bug? Got a big old cigar.
Yeah,
Where's Bug at?
yeah.
I love the idiot that actually tries to like take his hat and trade it. He's like, "Give it back." My hat.
Yeah. So he finds the room, and it's locked.
And he drills
So
into
he-
the door.
So you see him kind of go, and he goes and finds a drill somewhere, either in his car,
Yeah.
or in the house somewhere.
No, I
All
think
is
he
in that
had
trunk.
it in his pocket.
Yeah.
He went in
He's
there
ready.
with that thing.
So you hear the door. It either flies up.
It does, and there he
flies-
is.
and he's there, and he's
Just for every parent who's at like a
Yeah.
teenager, like lock him out of the room.
yeah.
I gotta say, for the first time I've seen this movie, I totally expected a "Here's Johnny" moment.
Yeah.
Because he was talking about the hatchet earlier.
Yeah.
Oh, I can see
Like
that.
Yeah.
if he would have smashed the door with the hatchet.
Yeah.
That would have been cool.
That's what I was expecting.
So he comes to the door. He's got the drill in his hands.
Dude, Bug is like terrified because he's like, oh my gosh, he's for real, for real.
Yeah.
And
Like,
he Buck realizes that his Tia's not in there.
Yeah. So the girl. It
So-
reveals the girl is, and she has that look of she's like ashamed, a little bit.
But also kind of relieved.
Yeah, a little
Yeah.
bit like, oh, someone's here. And there's this pause where he kind of looks to her, then looks to Bug, and then he pushes the
right
drill.
where I
and
want
turns the light back off.
Turns the light back off, and
And
he's
goes
See
in.
better, my dear.
and he's like, oh no. Now here's the thing. We don't see what happens after this
Until later.
until much later, and we don't know where Bug is from this moment until the reveal in about 10 minutes. And so in our heads, we're like, did he like take him out back and like drill him into the ground? Like, what's going on?
It just gets
is
better.
Bug dead? Like, what's
Is there a
happening?
kneecap missing? What's going
Right.
on?
What is happening? We don't know what happened to the girl. Obviously, I think he rescued her, got her out of
Yes.
there.
Yeah, for sure.
And you know, that says a lot to his character.
Yeah.
Because he did not have to do that.
No.
He had already probably stopped that encounter anyways.
Yeah.
But him going back in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to save her too.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm gonna make sure.
Yeah.
It's like, oh wait, we couldn't take my hints.
Yeah. Wasn't about to let that happen.
I
You're
can-
doing
can't
the
see
eyes,
picture.
like,
I know,
perfect.
basically. Like,
So
oh,
he-
we didn't listen.
Yeah.
The 4 times I told you that I was gonna kill you. Okay.
Yeah.
The drill comes on.
Let's go. So he's driving,
And he
Yeah,
finds her.
he's driving around downtown.
looking for her. He finds her, and is kind of talking to her.
She's
and
been crying.
and he says, I can't remember the exact line, but he says, "I don't care what happened. I just want to get you home."
But she admits he was right. He's like, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right about everything.
He doesn't say, I don't care what happened. He says, we don't have to talk about
what
it. I
happened.
want to
Just
get you
I
home.
want to get you home.
But they have such a cute scene together because I think he's like, you know,
she
I
does
wish.
want to talk about it.
Yeah.
He's like, I wish I had someone writing me like this,
Yeah.
and I might have not have turned out, you know,
Yeah.
like this way. And I think they have like a really cute moment. He's like, I'm glad I got to know you again, and like,
Yeah.
and then she's like, did you do something to Bug?
And he just smiles, and it's
And
devious.
she starts laughing.
And she's like, "What
like,
did you
I have to
do?"
know. I have to
So
know.
he stops the car, gets out, and they open the trunk, and there is Bug with duct tape on his face, not just duct
And his
tape,
hands.
but hands duct tape and a thing in his mouth.
He's been gagged.
He's been gagged with like a cloth as well.
Yeah.
And so he takes it off. And Bug's like, ah!
Well, and I love this because now she has the drill,
Yeah.
and she's like being all like with her
I need
evil
some
laugh.
dental work.
Oh,
But he makes him apologize.
Yeah.
I watched a movie with that exact same scene. A drill doing dental work.
Oh, jeez.
And
Oh.
that's the worst thing that gets me in like horror movies.
Yeah.
You can pluck out fingernails. I
Right.
don't care.
Oh, that
Leave the teeth alone.
Yeah. Yeah. There's that's a pain we're all familiar with. So he's like, apologize. Oh, I'm and
He
Boy,
screams it. He's a jerk.
Like an entitled rich brat.
Yes.
Buck
so
doesn't
sorry.
take it.
Yeah.
So you don't, like, that's not an apology.
yeah. So then he
Gets out talking about, I'll sue you.
And then he backs up.
He gets his golf club and he's like, all right, time to hit some
Well, no.
rounds
So
or
they
whatever."
drive away. He's like, and then he like turns or backs up and is chasing him. And then he like stops the car and he gets out and the kid's like, I'm not sorry.
My father's a liar.
And so then he gets in the trunk, pulls out
calmly gets out this,
pulls
you know,
out the golf. Oh, 5-iron.
Couple golf balls.
As if he's done this
Time to
before.
practice.
Like he's aiming for this man with a 5-iron.
cool as a
So
cucumber.
he just plops it down, and it
He hits him every time.
yeah.
It has to hit him at least twice for him.
Yeah.
To,
Yeah.
Well, okay, so
yeah.
Buck is an amazing bowler.
Yeah.
And he's apparently really good at golf.
Yeah.
he's got good aim.
Why is he gambling?
Yeah. Dude could have been a professional.
Literally.
Several times over.
Yeah.
So he hits him once, and the kid's like, "Oh, what's up?"
In the head.
And then he drops another one down and swings.
Just
it.
keeps going.
Keeps going.
Like as long as it takes.
Yep.
Honestly, I'd have to say that's my favorite scene.
Yeah. It's absolutely fantastic.
He just
'Cause
goes hard.
He does. And I think it also speaks to Uncle Buck. He's like, "No, kid, you're not. No, you don't scare me. Nobody scares me. Let's go."
I have more golf balls.
Yeah, let's do it.
How long you got?
So then he gets back in the car with her.
So he's like, basically like, can you talk to Shanice for me?
Yeah.
Like, and
Which
she,
I think is fair.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
so she tells the truth to Shanice.
Yeah.
But then she leans a little too heavily into the
Okay,
compliments.
but so how is it this? Is there like a feed or something? Because it sounds like he's feeding her lines as she's saying it.
I think like they practiced
They
it.
had to because I was like,
'Cause
it's the
he's
80s, That
listening.
doesn't make any sense. Okay.
But I love this scene because she like kicks the door and he like moves and then she kicks it again right in the face. And then he's like, "Oh, I was just trying to get some coffee or something." Whatever.
Oh, I love, again, John Candy, physical comedy.
Yes.
He can do the actual joke comedy. I'm so mad we lost him when we did, because if we had John Candy alive today, like if we had him a lot, like the incredible, beautiful work he could have done.
Yes.
Like he was the Chris Farley before there was Chris Farley.
Oh, speaking of, Adam Sandler has a new special out
Okay.
Oh, it's
on
so
Netflix.
sad.
Yeah.
The whole special, it's raunchy, but it
Right.
is hilarious.
Yeah.
At least I thought it was so.
Yeah.
At the very end, because you know how he mixes music
Yeah.
in with his
Yeah.
show?
Yeah.
He does like a tribute to like, he does a song like, it's not funny really.
Yeah.
But it's like a
Sad.
tribute to comedy.
Yeah.
And he goes and he thanks like all these different comedians
Yeah.
and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't listening for Kane, but there was a few that I was listening for. And when he said, "Thank you, Chris Farley,"
Yeah.
he's like, "Thank you, Farley." It choked me up.
Yeah.
If you are a fan of comedy, you love comedy,
It'll make you
that
cry.
That song will make you cry.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's in his new special on Netflix. It's called
Okay.
"I Love You."
Okay. There you go. How does this movie end?
Wonderfully because
Wonderfully.
because
Yeah, it does.
mom and daughter have their little
Yeah,
moment
they
of
have a hug. They hug
you
it out.
know, like I'm sorry for being bratty to you,
Yeah.
and honestly, this is all because of Uncle Buck. Like he
Yeah.
has turned her completely around.
Yeah.
So, and then this is a cute little scene of them trying to leave because Shanice won't be quiet.
Yeah,
like
they're-
actually leave.
Honestly, it's like this is how Aaron has seen this. My family, they don't say goodbye well. My mom in particular.
Yeah.
And Buck is like, "Oh, but no one is dying. This is not a wedding. We need to go." And I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
My mom needs to hug and kiss me at least 3 times before I leave. When
Yeah.
we're leaving home, and
Did-
it's just like, this is excessive. Okay.
Did we
I feel
find
it.
out if Grandpa survived or not? I
I think they said he was
Getting
doing
better.
Yeah.
because at the end, when the mom's hugging Tia, she says everything's going to be different now.
I think he's
he's
talking
about
about
their
was a weird-
relationship.
I
Their
think it's not their
relationship.
relationship.
Yeah.
And you think about it, that family was messed up before Uncle Buck got in.
Yeah.
And Uncle Buck's impact it really changed things. Because it was the daughter who says it, correct?
Yeah, no, it was the mom.
Mom. I think mom probably had a lot of realization that Uncle Buck was much needed, probably to help this family kind of figure themselves
Because
out.
mom
Yeah.
was just as eventually she was snippy back to her at that dinner. She's like, "I'm
Yeah.
done with your act. We're not doing this."
Yeah.
So they were both bickering. So I think they were just kind of both apologizing and we love each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and also that realization of those walls that they had built up against each
Yeah.
other, it's not good. That's not a good way to do things.
Totally.
And that's important. And it ends with a freeze frame on Uncle Buck. I think he smiles or
Yep,
something.
he's got his hand up or something.
Yeah,
like that.
he's getting goodbye.
Which I've noticed that's a lot in John Hughes, huh?
Yeah, a lot of John Hughes, John Candy movies, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. That happens.
It happens in. We just watched it. Breakfast Club.
Yes, Breakfast Club with the fist in
The
the air.
fist.
Yep.
16 Candles.
Yep.
They're
I think it was a John Hughes thing. He would do that, or he would has that freeze
Freeze
frame.
frame.
Yep. Which is also sung by the J. Giles Band. Freeze frame. Dun, 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 dun. Anyway, there you go. There's my random useless audio knowledge. Okay, how would we rate this movie? out of 10.
Oh, 10 out of 10. I still love it.
Yeah.
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 It's a classic.
I gave it a 9.5.
Why not a 10?
Because the same reason why I didn't give Breakfast Club a 10. Well, no, not the same reason. It's the creepiness aspects of it for
Yeah.
me. Like the dude with the toothpick
Yeah.
Oh.
and Bug.
Yeah.
Like, don't make me feel grossed out. Like, I can watch gore movies and not get grossed out as much as watching these two dudes.
I guess, okay, being a female and having a lot of, like, uncles,
Yeah.
that's normal.
Yeah. I
All of
agree.
my uncles were like, I will kill you if you ever hurt her. Like, literally. Like, same like Uncle Buck. Like,
Yeah.
so I get that.
Yeah, and
like
see,
protecting
see
your-
growing up, my dad was like not super like this, and I always kind of wanted. And so poor Aaron, when he proposed, got like an hour and a half long conversation.
Aw.
So I felt kind of bad for him. But I'm like, dang it, like the one good guy, and you got like the long run of it. But some of that was because like my sister had just gotten a divorce, and my dad hadn't really asked him any kind of questions, and so he was like,
fair.
I'm gonna do it right this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, obviously 10 out of 10 for me as well. It's John Candy. Like you can't go wrong with the man.
It's brilliant.
Just we lost a pretty legendary actor there. So there you go.
Vicky.
Oh, Vicki, how'd you
Hey,
rate it?
10.
10.
Okay.
Yes.
It's a lot of fun. It's a fun movie.
Yeah, it is. I giggled through the whole thing.
Yeah.
And how you can
It's
pack
so
so
funny.
much into an hour and a half. Like,
Yeah.
that was a lot.
So this is something I've talked about with a lot of like movies and television shows, like the modern issues in filmmaking is they don't know how to tell a story really well. You could watch like I could watch this movie again and again. Like I would love it. It would be fun to watch. You watch a movie now, like some of the movies you watch now, you're like, I don't want to see this again. Like,
Right.
what's the point? There's nothing exciting. There's nothing new. There's no nuance to it. Right. With Uncle Buck, there's plenty. Like you were talking about the phone call, right? So the phone calls he has with Shanice, where you only hear his side.
Yeah.
The movie is smart enough to know that it wants you to imagine those conversations. It wants you to think and imagine what Shanice is saying and given his reaction. That increases the comedy of it. Like you're giggling through the whole movie because the movie trusts you to interpret and make up your own part of that side. And that's the beauty of good writing is it's like I'm going to entrust the audience to make the humor for themselves.
Totally.
And that's the power of a good movie. It's
And it's so engaging. Like, you literally don't know what's going to happen next. You're like,
Yeah.
what's around the next corner? Like,
Oh, just the whole thing with like how he was drying the clothes. Like this is stuff that I wouldn't have thought of.
yeah.
or leaving the toilet seats up for the dog to
Oh,
drink
like,
the
all the
water.
blue stuff. That was a bad idea. Ah. See, that was the part for me that if you add a gag moment.
Okay, yeah. So he's on the phone talking to the mom, telling her all these things.
Yeah.
That's when he mentions like the plate.
Yeah.
Where do I get it? And like it cuts to her, and she's got like this scared look on
She
her
looks
face.
terrified.
But she says like, "I feel so secure with you there," and I'm like, "What? No, you don't. Why would you say that?"
But it's also poignant because by the end, like, she should feel secure because, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean,
he's
he
turned
wasn't-
that whole family around.
He wasn't going to let nothing hurt them kids.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. It was good.
Really cool.
There you go. So there it is. That is Uncle Buck, a classic John Hughes movie.
Very good.
Very good.
What should we see next?
We had talked about American Tail 2.
Fievel Goes West.
Yes.
That's probably should be next on the list for next week. That was Phil's request.
Yep. That and Beverly Hills Ninja.
Oh yeah, Beverly Hills
Another big
Ninja.
funny guy.
Yep, Chris Farley. Well, yeah, because we're gonna do Tommy Boy and Black Sheep eventually. I think Tommy Boy would probably be the better one. I like Tommy Boy. The Black Sheep is
I haven't seen either, so I'm down with either one.
Tommy Boy is fantastic. I love
That's the one with David Spade in it, right?
both are David Spade. So Chris Farley and David Spade were in every movie they were in. They were pretty much together.
Weren't they all like a part of the Happy Madison crew?
Yeah, they were. That's the SNL group.
Yeah.
They were a part of that's why.
Like original.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why Adam Sandler was a part of that group. If you watch the early SNLs, Sloppy Joe, the Sloppy Joe music video or music like sketch, it's him, it's Adam Sandler, it's Chris Farley. I think David Spade's in the mix. It's a fantastic little sketch if you ever want to watch. Just 3.5 minutes of those guys just going nuts on stage and having a blast.
Oh, Sloppy Joe.
Sloppy
Thing is
Joe.
pretty funny.
Yeah. Sloppy Joe ends up marrying somebody, one of the other foods, and they have kids, and it's fantastic.
I
Okay.
don't remember the marriage part.
Right.
Now we have to watch it because
Yeah.
I want to know and I don't want to know. So now I have to look it up.
It's the absurdity of SNL back in the 90s.
We just had sloppy joes for lunch last week, so it's
Yep.
like.
They're nostalgic.
when I taught at the middle school, every time there was sloppy
Yeah,
joes
that's
on the
right,
menu,
you told me
I
this.
would play that clip. I'd be
Love
like,
it.
"Hey, today's lunch is sloppy Joe, sloppy Joe." It's fantastic.
I
Good
can't.
stuff. I can't either. All right. So, do we want to? Can I briefly get on a soapbox before we end this program?
Sure.
So,
Prime time. I'm getting go on time. You
time to start the clock. So we watched Star Wars: The Force Awakens last week, and then we watched last night. We watched it last night.
Yep.
And we watched the original trilogies back. And here's something, Phil. You may or may not have something to say here. Feel free to jump in. We watched them back in like when they re-released the edited trilogies with the newfangled graphics. People were like, "Oh, it's kind of cool, whatever." In 2024, all of the new stuff they put into A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi
looks terrible.
looks awful.
And our foster daughter agreed.
It's
was
not
like, "It doesn't look good."
It's not good CGI, and it was so disappointing.
It's meant to be watched like on an old school TV.
Yeah, because
Like
now with all the
CRT.
with all the like 4Ks, it looks junky.
Every time they come on the screen, we were just like, "Oh no!"
It takes you right out of the movie, and
It's like watching Jimmy Neutron.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, and it's so frustrating because those movies.
Is that the movie with the T-Rex have a big head?
No, it's Jimmy
No
Neutron.
alarms.
It was a TV show.
It was
then
a TV
movie.
show.
Okay.
It was a Nickelodeon series that came out like back when the early CGI was
Yeah.
starting to like really get big.
It was cool for the time, but now we have 4K widescreen televisions, and it doesn't probably look good now.
Gotta remaster the stuff.
Yeah. Anyway, so my point is, so we watched it, and we're like, okay, it's disappointing because I remember watching Star Wars before George Lucas went back and did the edits, and it was brilliant. And I
it's
loved
fine.
it.
It's fine.
So then we watched The Force Awakens last night, and it's good. It's not great, but it's good. Like
Yeah.
it's they rebirth some new characters. They give us the old characters. Spoiler.
It's essentially the same story.
It
as
is A New Hope.
A New Hope.
Yeah, because instead of Obi-Wan Kenobi dying, spoiler alert, the movie's been out for a couple, years. Instead of Obi-Wan Kenobi, Han Solo bites the bucket. And so what frustrates me is, so here's the deal. From my understanding,
There's also the "I'm your father" thing. with
yeah,
Kylo.
Kylo Ren and all that.
Yeah.
So the thing is, Han Solo, Harrison Ford originally wanted Han Solo to die in Return of the Jedi. There's that line where he says, "I'm not sure I'm going to see her. I got a funny feeling I'm not coming back or whatever. I'm going to see her again." That was Harrison Ford's attempt to try and get George Lucas to kill off Han Solo. They didn't. They kept him alive, and the character didn't die in the movie. But his death in Force Awakens was part of Harrison Ford's I want Han Solo to die. I want the character to go. I personally think that was the dumbest thing he could have done. Because here's what happens. So it's important, yeah, because everyone gets mad and everyone loses. Leia gets sad.
Yeah.
But here's the problem. So then in The Last Jedi, I hate The Last Jedi. That movie frustrates me to no end. It is an absolute piece of trash, and it makes me want to throw things. Luke Skywalker dies. And then, through no fault of their own, Carrie Fisher died towards the end, in the midst of filming Rise of the Skywalker. And so you had none of the original actors who were in play. What were you thinking? Come on! Because here's the thing: I loved Han Solo and Rey's engagement in the Force Awakens. It was like, yes, let's have more of these. Let's have more of these guys doing stuff. It's so cool. And then they went and they did it. And so yeah, I went last night and watched Rise of Skywalker because I refused to watch The Last Jedi because I was so angry. And it was like, yeah, this is serviceable. This is not. So if you ignore The Last Jedi and you just watch those two, it's not bad.
Yeah.
You feel like you're missing a little bit because Snoke is gone. You don't know where he's happened.
Like, just know that he got killed. Move on.
He's gone. It doesn't really matter. But those two movies are fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the middle one. I can go off on tangents. Anyway, there hasn't.
This has been Rants with Aaron.
So I don't know if I'm not a diehard Star Wars fan.
Do you want me to chime in here and add something so that to take some of the heat off of you for people being mad?
Sure, let's go.
Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic. You know the game?
Yeah.
Aged terribly.
Yeah. It didn't do well, did it?
The story is amazing.
Yeah.
The gameplay is awful.
Yeah.
Awful. There, I said it.
Yeah. Well, so it feels
The internet
like
is going to come for them.
We're just over here chilling.
Yeah. I feel because we didn't talk about on air the fact that the Acolyte season 2 was
I
canceled.
mean, I know how to get some more controversy.
So
Squirrels are evil.
okay.
They are.
Attacks are more common than you think. I went on a YouTube rabbit trail. That doesn't help you.
Everyone
Well,
knows
okay.
the story, by the way, now. So everyone knows I have PTSD over squirrels.
Oh, no.
That's fine.
A squirrel apparently went after Zoe and screeched at her.
Yeah.
Dude, it almost came, it was
was
about
kinda
to come
scary.
at me, like at my face.
It was charging us. I was like, I was thinking out loud. I was like, has someone been feeding the squirrel? This is being very aggressive.
The answer is yes. They
Yeah.
have.
Yes.
Because
Honestly,
that's-
you did the best thing you could have done by raising your voice.
Yes. I just said, I don't have food.
No,
and then
you,
it went,
no, you went, I don't have any food. And it like ran up the tree, like, okay.
Vicky's like, no, you freaked out. Because I did.
So you did perfect.
I didn't have a walking stick, so I was like, what am I going to
Just-
hit it with?
So yeah, there we go. That's right.
The squirrels. No.
The Star Wars.
Can't trust him, anybody.
We totally just kind of
Don't feed squirrels, please.
Don't.
They will attack you.
Okay. All right.
Don't. Maybe don't feel bad about hitting them. No, that's too far.
Well, Phil, we lost control of our segment.
Yeah, we did.
We were
From
talking
Star Wars
and
to
then
squirrels.
squirrels came
Yes.
in and
You must start with S.
we were done. We
Alliteration.
just kind of just got forced off to the side. We got ran off our own road.
It's
Yeah.
me. I have the problem. It's me.
Oh.
It happens.
It does.
Hey, it made me stop thinking about the awful Star Wars stuff.
Yeah. It
Hey,
did.
there we go.
There.
We're just trying to have some structure to the rants.
Yeah. We're the comic relief.
Good. Okay. You're the Steve Martin to our.
Yeah. I can dig that. I love Steve
what's
Martin.
Steve. You're the Steve Martin to our Steve Carell
Yeah.
because we're more serious. and
Yeah. Like I don't know, classy.
we're not classy, Phil. Did you hear that?
That's not what I'm saying. That is not what I meant.
If you go back to the last episode, there's like
Worst
3
week
whole minutes
ever.
of beeping. So I would not call me classy, no.
Actually, that was hilarious.
Okay, it is so funny. I think my favorite part is when you try to like defend yourself. Like this is what I was thinking. And there's
it's
this long beep, and I can't remember for the life of me what you were trying to say.
And
But
we're
that's
not
the
going to
funniest
talk
part.
about it now.
No.
We don't need more beeps.
We have hit our beep volume for the show for this
It's
year.
just one little one. I just made one little mistake.
Yeah, it's fine. All right. Well, we will catch you next week with Five Goes West, the second American Tail movie, and then we'll probably do Beverly Hills Ninja from there. We're still contemplating and conversating about doing a County Gamers where we're going to have some cameras and some games and some videos. We're going to figure that out. We have Chris, our other host of the County Gamers. He's in the wings as we prepare that as well. And if you guys ever want to have an episode where you have like conversations specifically about stuff, if you want to take over the episode for a while and do whatever,
Talk about Barbie or something.
yeah.
Sorry. I was thinking about the squirrels, but yes, we could talk about Barbies.
You have your own adventure podcast.
There you go.
Yeah, we could talk about all of our adventures.
There
We
you go.
could, we could.
That is possible. Anything's possible in the world of podcasting. There's so many options. All right. Well, my name is Aaron,
I am Phil.
And Vicki.
And I'm Zoe.
and this has been Nerds by Screenlight. We'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Nerds by Screenlight podcast, presented by Create at Morgan Productions, located in Fort Morgan, Colorado, USA. For more information on our production house, other podcasts hosted here, and further details, please visit www.createatmorgan.org. You can find us on Twitter at the handle CreateAtMorgan. Create at Morgan is a school club at Lincoln High School, our alternative education campus in Morgan County. Our sponsor is Aaron DeLay, a language arts teacher at Lincoln. Send any feedback to adelayedteacher@gmail.com. Thank you for listening to our podcast.